Hey y'all, it's Ashley Canott.
And I'm Blair Nodine, and we're Joy in the Junk.
The podcast where we bring our whole selves to the table.
Mess and all.
And find Jesus right in the middle of it.
We're two women seeking truth in Scripture, hope in the hard places, and joy that doesn't wash away when life gets muddy.
So pull up a chair, grab your coffee or sweet tea, and let's talk life, faith, and all the junk in between. Because with Jesus,
there's joy that lasts. It's Joy in the Junk. Welcome to the table. We're glad you're here. Hey, girlie.
Hey.
How goes it?
Good.
Yeah.
I had a dopamine dress today, because when you just ain't feeling it, you got to just like pull out all the stops and be bright. Even if you don't feel bright, you got to just make yourself bright.
There you go.
You dress for the day you want to have, not the day you're having. So that's where I'm at today.
Well, it's funny you say that. Hence the is it ponytail or pigtail? Is it? I never know.
Pigtails is two.
Oh, pigtails is too. Okay, my ponytail. Hence, if you could see the back of this, I just had to pin it up. I didn't wash my hair this morning, so I just kind of pinned it up.
Fine. Everything is fine. I know people can't see it if they're just listening, but if you go to YouTube, you can see it.
Yeah, but when we hang up, it's time to clean house. I have been gone for 3 days, and it is time to clean house. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that ain't no fun. My house is pretty clean, so
yeah, mine's nice. Mine's nice.
I do got to do some work though, because we went out of town for spring break for just a couple of days and went fishing, and so I do got to work and do some stuff.
Can we talk about that fish? Listen, let's talk about our joy that might be your joy. We'll talk about joy. I do want to talk about your big fish, but what's your joy?
My joy is actually catching the big fish and just spending time with family and enjoying time with them and hanging out. And I enjoy fishing. I would much rather catch. I'm more of a catching person than a fishing person. But, and when I caught that one, I caught a little one that was like teeny. Like they have to be a certain, thing so you can catch them or whatever, keep them or whatever. And I was like, Kevin, put it in the live well. I want to keep it. He's like, Ashley, if they catch us with this fish in the live well, we're going to get a fine. We got to throw it back. And I was like, but I want to keep all the things that I caught. But we ended up throwing the other one back too. But it was fun to catch that big fish and, reel it in. And so catching's always fun. I'll say that.
Now, I love to bass fish. I'm not going to lie. I love to bass fish. And I want to like spinner baits. I'll never forget with Kyle and his dad when we go fishing and that spinner bait comes across, or the buzz bait, not spinner bait's underwater. Buzz bait comes across the water and the fish, listen, there is something about, I love to bass fish, but I don't even mind fishing. I like casting because this is the one time I can honestly say I'm a dreamer, because every time I cast, I just envision this massive fish taking that bait down. So funny, I say that is so random.
He was fishing with, we were fishing under docks. He was like skipping under docks with a frog. And he got a hold of one that literally bent his hook. He said it was massive, but we didn't catch it. He went back trying to catch it. He never could catch it, but it bent his hook. That's how big it was.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He was a little disappointed he didn't catch that one. He was excited. He said, because I know when it hit, he said, when it hit my line, he said, I know it was big. And it just wasn't in the cards for him.
There you go. Well, my joy is my son got baptized yesterday.
Yay.
And I know. And Kyle, he rededicated his life. He is a faithful follower of the Lord Jesus. He and his wife both. They're really leading my grandchildren well. And we were talking on the phone a couple of weeks back, and he said, Mom, I'm going to get baptized. And I was thrilled. I said, okay, when? I want to come. And he said, okay. So, of course, there's no way to work out the schedule. And I was out of town with Crystal, and I were doing this women's conference. So he was so sweet. He came back and he said, well, are you going to be mad and I thought, no, I'm not going to be mad. I absolutely wanted to be there to watch him get dunked, but she sent me the video yesterday, and it's just, there is just something about it. He's just, it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. So I'm really proud of him, and I think the biggest thing with him and being the example for his son, talking those generation, and of course, knowing my testimony, we have these generational strongholds, and Kyle is so proud that he has broken that one. You know,
I love
he
that.
really he is. I do too. So that is truly a big deal to me. I am
For
so
sure.
proud of him. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I've
yeah.
ever seen a picture of your son. Have you ever
You've
showed
never
me a
seen
picture?
Kyle?
No.
I thought I had. Well, it's on my cell phone. I don't see how you haven't seen it.
No, you never showed him to me.
Hmm, I can't
I need
believe
to
he.
see him. Does he look like you?
No, he's much cuter than me.
Oh, okay.
There he is.
Now, Blair, you know I cannot see that. You're going to have to send that to me one day.
I will. That's so funny. But I have him. I have him on him and Brienne and the children. We had gone to play putt putt in Kentucky or whatever. Oh yeah, I have them all. Yeah, they're right there on the cell phone. So I do, and I've got that one that rotates, so I get pictures of Crystal and Jeff and the boys and Rick, and my pictures rotate
Oh,
every
yeah.
hour. And yeah, I do that. But anyway, he's he's a tall feller. He's a handsome guy, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. I mean, we always think our kids are handsome,
I know he is, but
or
he's a good
pretty.
boy. And I'm yeah,
Why do
exactly.
you think that is? Why do you think that, like, why do you think that parents, do you really think that, I mean, because let's be honest, this is going to sound
All
crazy.
babies are not pretty, Ashley.
All babies are not pretty. And I'm going to be honest, my Tucker, he was not pretty. Now, Tanner was a gorgeous baby. He was
Mhm.
so pretty. Like, he was just the cutest baby. Like, he had a whole like black wig of hair. Like, he had so much hair, and he was just plump and cute. Now, Tucker, he was bald headed and he was skinny and he was not cooked all the way. He was 2 weeks early. He did not have no fat pads underneath his skin. He looked like a little alien. He was not cute.
This is
Now,
hard.
and but I sit and kind of wonder sometimes. I'm like, well, it's kind of like that Seinfeld episode with, like, the ugly baby or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I just sit and wonder, do parents always like look at their kids and go, they're cute, even if they're not cute? Like, do I see my kids the same way other people see my kids? You know what I
No,
mean?
you don't. Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I do
I
believe,
agree. Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I have seen pictures where I didn't think something was cute. I'm not going to say who or what or whatever. Didn't think something was, I'm not going to do
Call them out,
it.
Blair.
No, not happening. But didn't think they were cute or whatever. But when I look back at in the moment, I thought, oh, yes. But then when I look back at the pictures 10 years later, yeah,
Yeah.
not so much. But I think it's the moment. I think it's the feelings that we have with them. There's no, and I do laugh. All babies are not cute. And I said that one time. Matter of fact, it was so funny. Megan asked me to be on her podcast. And I started to say that. And I said, oh, please don't put that in there. Because people laugh. I was speaking at an event one time and I said, and I used the example about telling the truth or lying. And I said, when you go up and you see a baby and that baby is not cute and you say, oh, what a cute baby, you're lying. I mean,
Yeah.
that is and I was just trying to drive home the point about lying. Even when we think it's a good idea, it's never a good idea to lie. So you have to say something different. I had said that when I was speaking in an engagement one time, and one of the ladies in the audience said, God, I guess they never let her work in the nursery.
But what do you say if you see an ugly baby? Like, what do you say? Do you be like, oh, how precious?
Yeah. Or yes, or something.
What a gift from the Lord.
Well, I don't say that because then people will know I don't think it's cute. So I don't know what I say, but I got to be careful because I'm scared somebody's fixing to have a baby and I'll say it. But I don't throw myself under the bus. But I say things.
I think I would be like, so sweet or so precious or
such a blessing. Yeah,
such
such a blessing or what. But I don't want to, because but I don't want to lie. And I think that's my thing. I don't want to lie. And,
yeah.
I
So you think that there's no such thing as a good lie?
No, lie's a lie.
No, I don't think so either. I think a lie's a lie. Whether you're doing it to, because it's kind of like that saying, I would rather you hurt me with the truth and comfort me with a lie. Is that the saying or whatever?
Yeah, I've heard that.
But
I don't want to be
the same way. Like, I don't want you to lie to me and be like, oh, that looks really good on you, Ashley, or that I think your hair looks good that way. When, like, you told me, you were like, actually, I think you need to let your hair grow a little because it don't make your face look so round. And I'm glad you tell me that because I mean, I got a little double chin going on,
Well,
and I
and you
want
did,
to
and you were holding it right here, and that was holding everything there. So
Yeah.
I'm very good about, I'm honest about things like that. But I also know in another side of that coin is sometimes just because it's the truth doesn't mean you have to say it.
Yes. So such a
That
fact.
is,
Like
and I,
silence
yeah.
sometimes, like, and I
Mhm.
think that's hard because we live in a world of our truth. Like we live in this world that our truth is truth, and technically our truth is not truth; it's our opinion.
Correct.
And but we live in a thing of in a society that everybody has their own truth and they live by their own truth versus the truth, which is the word
Hmm.
of God. but
Right.
but yeah, that's so true. Like sometimes everybody doesn't need to know your opinion, and I have to remind myself of that because I like to give my opinion a lot, and I have to remind myself and go, they don't need my opinion. They don't need to, they don't need to hear what I got to say because I
Well, and
like
I
to tell
think
people stuff. I mean, we got the gift of gab.
we do. We do. When I wore my T-shirt at the beach, matter of fact, when I went with Crystal. But there have been incidents where, I need to tell this person this, this, and this. And Dad and I had this conversation years ago. I'll never forget. And he said, well, I need to tell him. And I said, no, you don't need to tell him. God's not going to get any glory from me saying some of these things that I think, or I even know to be true. I mean, it could be a fact, but God doesn't get the glory from it. God's not going to get the glory from me hurting you or telling somebody that's got a newborn baby, God, I'm so glad you had a baby, but they aren't very cute or they aren't pretty. Or how's anybody going to be? How's God glorified in that? That baby was created in God's image. That
Yeah.
baby just doesn't look like I want it to look, so
Yeah.
you're like opinion. So I learned this. It was a very valuable lesson. Crystal and Jeff are going on this great, sweet, romantic trip, just the two of them. I'm so proud of them. I'm proud for them. So Crystal needs some clothes. Ooh, I don't know if she's going to be excited I tell this story. Well, so she needs clothes. Who better to take anybody shopping than me?
I know, right?
Well, not so much, because she doesn't dress the way I dress. And things that I think would be precious on her and would be precious on her, to be honest, are not her. They're just not her style.
Yeah.
She didn't care about clothes. I love clothes. So we were picking out things, and I picked out this one shirt, and she kind of looked at me and she said, well, let's send a picture of it to Jeff, which bless my heart that she said, I want Jeff to like it. Never once sent Ricky a picture and said, that's not true. I have sent him pictures from the dressing room at Belk when I've tried on something, it's buy
Yeah.
one, get two free, which is going on now. So I have to go, but
Ooh,
I know. But anyway, she didn't
girls'
really,
day.
yeah, exactly. She didn't really like it, but she thought maybe it'd work for the trip. Well, Jeff, sweet Jeff, didn't say, no, I don't like it. He just never answered. So third text message in, I said, Bud, do you just not like it? And he wouldn't answer me. He was never going to say, I don't like your taste. He was just, I mean, he was so kind. He handled it beautifully. Needless to
Yeah.
say, we put this shirt back on the rack, but we found some things that she liked and I liked. But I want her, you don't feel good in something if you don't like it.
Right. Yeah.
Just because I think it's cute or whatever. If you don't like it, even though it's cute, you're not going to feel good in it. And the whole point of this is I want her to feel good about her when she wears
Yeah.
it. I dress for me, not for you. Now, girls do dress for girls. I will say that, but I do know I like clothes. Now, does
Yeah.
everybody like what I wear? I scare Rick to death a lot of times, but
Yeah.
I do. But I think the key to all of it is, does it make you feel good? So when I tell you now, when you're wearing something that I think makes you not look so great, I'm going to tell you. Now,
Yeah.
you might not care, but if you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
I think it's
Yeah.
you found that.
Anytime I go speak somewhere, I always go buy something new because as crazy as it sounds, it's like, or I go I do something because I want to be like, I want to feel good, and like sometimes even though it's something old that you've had, you still feel good in it. It's like when you go buy something new, you just feel good and you feel more confident. So it's like I'll go buy something new when I go speak somewhere just because I know I'm gonna be standing in front of people and it makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah.
And makes me feel more confident, which I feel like helps portray what maybe I want, or convey what I want to convey to people or whatever, so it's
I
just
need to.
one of my things. But I don't know why I do that, but it's one of those things. It's like Easter. I always go buy new Easter
Oh, me
clothes,
too.
like every year. Like that's a
Mhm.
tradition. My kids know. I've done it since I was a kid. I've done it with my kids. My husband
Mhm.
doesn't understand it, but like, cause he didn't do it, but I love it. I love getting new. It's the prom. It's the church
Yeah,
prom, you know? So
exactly. And I I'm going to start telling. I always get something new to wear when I speak too. Except I'm speaking the 25th, and I really like what I'm going to wear for that. 2 weeks out, and I know what I'm wearing. But
yeah.
it's funny because, and I just tell Rick I'm speaking, and he just knows. Well, she's going to buy something new.
Yeah.
Because I do too. I do like that. I enjoy that part of it. But I like to feel good about me.
Yeah.
And it's about the inside. I know that. But I want my outside, like you said, you dress even though when you're not whatever, feeling it
Mhm.
maybe. But I like to feel good about myself. I care about my appearance. I care
Yeah.
about a lot of people don't. I care about what I look like. I care about, I mean, if I'm going to be uttering, I want I want to give God my best. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah,
Even
for sure.
even when I'm in my worst, I want to give God my best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you what I did this weekend. We had the Women of Joy. I've gone to it several times. Went with Crystal. Crystal wanted to go, and so we went with 26 girls from church. Great group. We had the best time, and and there are a lot of people out there with these women, and we only had 6,000. I thought it was a 10,000. This weekend was 6,000 women. Next weekend they're having it's 10,000 women. But we had some great
Whew.
speakers. Kane was the music, and they're really good. And I love Kane because they sing glorious songs, but they are sharing the gospel through every word. They never, it's never out to please or anything. They're out to honor God with everything they sing and they write and everything else. But there were a couple of speakers that hit home, and they were all good, but there was one, and she talked about, and we were talking about bitterness before, and before we came on live, and this is the way she led it. I won't go through the whole thing, but she was talking about, remember, um, coat of many colors. Remember Joseph and his pretty coat, and how
Yeah.
his brothers hated him out of jealousy. And I get their jealousy. Daddy gives him a coat, and I got to go work in the field. And then dad sends him out. That's like dad sending Porter and Allie to come make sure I washed the car right. Do you know? It's so that would be so aggravating. And I get their frustration, aggravation with him. But anyway, that jealousy over that coat, fast forward all the things that Joseph goes through and everything else, the bitterness on that coat led to over 2 million people being in slavery for 400 years.
Mhm.
When you read the
Wow.
whole, now, if you go through every bit of it,
Yeah.
Ashley, a coat, one simple coat led to over 2 million people. Well, I don't know the exact number, obviously, but that's how many people Moses led out of. Somebody said 3 million. I think I go with 2 million, but whatever. That many people were in bondage for 400 years
And
for a
that's a
coat,
good
Ashley.
point, because talking about the coat, and Sunday we had our pastor our speaker, we had a special speaker because it's pastor appreciation. He talked about focus, and about he was in Hebrews 12, but that's such a good like reminder, like it kind of goes along with what's been on my brain about Sunday's sermon or yesterday's sermon. But their focus was on that coat. They took their
Mhm,
eyes off of what was important, and they focused on the fact that they focused on their jealousy, they focused on
mhm.
the coat, they focused
Bitterness.
on the bitterness that came, and they focused on removing that part, that thing in their
Mhm,
life that that they didn't like, and I think that's a good reminder that when you take your focus off God in any aspect, when you take your focus off Christ and you choose to divert your attention elsewhere and you get distracted by
mhm.
other things, you can't see the ramifications of what's going to happen down the road. You know,
Right.
we get so caught up in the here and now, and they weren't thinking, they were like, we'll get rid of our brother, everything will be good, our daddy will pine for a little bit, he'll be upset. but they didn't see what was
The
going
big
on,
picture.
the big picture. And so we forget there's a bigger picture than our
Mhm.
little world. There's a bigger picture here than that the world that Ashley lives in and the world that Blair lives in. And it's so important to not be distracted and keep our focus on the main thing, which is Jesus. And he's the author and finisher of our faith, and we
Right.
can't get caught up in being distracted by other things that derail sometimes derail the purpose. And that could have been their purpose, was to for that. But I think it's so important that we are mindful of the focus that our what our focus is and what we put our attention on, because it can have serious effects on not just us but other people.
Well, and I think that was the point I was getting to too, was what bitterness or what jealousy or what is something that I have done, that because it's like a stone or that you throw in a pond, the ripple effect. There's that
Yeah.
ripple
Yeah.
effect. What Where have I done that? Where have I held on to bitterness or angst or anger, or severed a relationship or not put into a relationship what I should have? I mean, you're right. When our focus is not on Christ, when we take our eyes off of Him, these things that happen, and it affects so many people. And, I think we were in the car. I went with some young girls, which is so funny because I was talking about on the way up there in the car. I want to talk about Jesus all the time. And so I take a list of questions. We're in the car for 3 hours. So I have a list of questions. And some are, hot dogs or hamburgers, or, pet ice cream or cake, those kind of, just lame questions.
Yeah.
But then there's other ones. What's the greatest compliment someone's ever given you? I'll never forget mine. Sandra Nicholson gave me mine. But it was the different compliments someone gave you, or what does this certain scenario make you feel like, or things like that, just to have conversation.
Yeah.
And we got and there was a couple of questions were asked, and it led us down different paths, which is wonderful. And these are all, like I said, I'm old enough to be all their mothers, and I was grateful they let me go with them in the car even. But it was such a joy and blessing that God allowed me that time with those girls to be able to pour in a little bit. And we talked about some of the things that we talked about. And one of my answers to the question was, does God get glory from what you're doing? And we weren't judged. Nobody was judging anybody. But I think when we recognize in life, is God getting any glory from what we do? And if He's not getting glory for him, then we shouldn't be doing it. Listen,
So
if I'm
true.
going to walk out, it is, if I'm going to walk out of this house and make stupid choices, it's best just to stay in here. Do you know? It's
True.
just best to stay in here. But I don't want to do anything. And I was also talking about, as I get older, I should be quieter. And we laughed about it. And, they said no or whatever. Well, sure enough, Friday night, Chris Kane spoke. And she said, when you see these old stiffs looking like they chew on lemons, I got so tickled because, I'm not quiet. And I'm very loud and bold with my faith. And I think I get louder. I'll be honest with you. I think I'm getting louder the older I get. But you know what? That's what God wants us to do. I don't need to settle in and get comfy in a pew.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
don't
I
think.
agree. Yeah, I love that you said something about getting louder, because I think as we get older, a lot of times, um, we because I think we have a tendency to forget that our identity. It's kind of like, you think about, like, when you first get saved, you're so on fire, and then you're like, yes, I'm going to conquer the world for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And but as you've done it for a while, and you've been, with anything, it's you get complacent, and you get so. I think it's a good reminder. You said you think you're getting louder. You feel like you're getting louder. Wow, that's great, because I feel like some people get quieter. They feel like,
Mhm,
well, somebody else will come up and pick up my slack. Somebody else will come in,
mhm,
they'll take the torch where I taught Sunday school for years, and I was out here visiting and doing all the things. And when we're not called to get quieter, we're called to get louder. We're called to continue to grow and continue to lean into the power that we have as believers through the Holy Spirit, and trust in it and walk in it, because that's our that's, like I've said before, that's our advantage. But it's just we're to get to it when it comes to doing things in this world, and not be derailed by the fact of, oh well, I'm getting old. I can't do what listen, I know older people that serve the Lord more than some younger people do, and they got more energy than younger people, because unfortunately, like, the generations that are coming up are lazy. No offense to the younger generation, but they are, compared to the older generation. I mean, it's hard to get them to do anything. They want the easy way. They don't want to have to put forth any effort. And it's frustrating sometimes, I think, as I guess I could.
I would say something about the easy way. You don't learn as much on the easy way. Now, do I like the way the way I came to the Lord? I wish it would have been a little bit easier. Yeah, but I'll tell you something. You learn so much more through the hard stuff. And there's a lot of people in this world that only do things the easy way. Yeah. And part of that's laziness. Part of it's fear. Part of it's a lack of trust, for sure. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the louder I get is the more it's a God confidence, not a Blair confidence. It's a God confidence. Right. Mm-hmm. And I want to honor him with what I think, say, and do. And I don't want to be stiff-necked. I don't want to be, and it's very humbling. I mean, it's very humbling, but like day after, today's what, the 13th? So Wednesday's my spiritual birthday. I will be 24. I got saved on April 15th, 2002. Oh. So 24, spiritually speaking, which is, still young, right? But
yeah, girl,
but it is. But
to be 24 and know what I know now, man, I'd be unstoppable.
I'm telling you. But when she was talking about it, and we think about, and Peter was the example, and of course I've just finished this Peter Bible study as well. But Peter, to see his growth from where he started, and then even on the Mount of Transfiguration, bless his heart, he wanted to build him a tent, So it's those things that we can get so fired up for the Lord and so excited for him, even when we do dumb stuff. Sometimes we just speak out, and maybe we shouldn't have. But I think when our heart is in the right place, when we are wanting to honor God, when we were wanting to lift him up, we wanting to encourage other people, even when we have those mishaps, I'd rather have the mishaps than have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I want to honor God with everything. And I also don't mind the correction either. Actually, we were talking, here I go again. We were talking yesterday, and I am quick to confess when I goof now. And I know it has a lot to do with the way my pastor is leading us, because we've talked about confession a whole lot and repentance, obviously. But what we're talking about is unity. And if I can't confess something to my brothers and sisters in the Lord, how in the world am I going to get other people to come into the fold? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not perfect. And this confession that he's teaching, it has really sunk in with me. And it's eye-opening, first of all. Secondly, it's humbling. But thirdly, it makes you more approachable. Because I don't have a problem admitting when I'm wrong. I don't like it. But I want to tell you something. It is so freeing to be able to go to somebody and say, hey, listen, I goofed there. I was wrong. Your idea was much better than mine, or whatever. Actually, I am 64. I was 64 years old when that became a thing.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it changes things when you recognize that you're not always right, and it's okay to not be always right. It's okay. Did that make any sense?
I struggle with that a little bit sometimes, because I do think I'm always right, and I struggle with that a little bit. But
like I said, I was 64 years old when I started.
Yeah, but I think it's just, again, it goes back to that same thing about our truths and what we know to be, or what we think to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so caught. I think we're so self-absorbed
Yeah.
that, when we can admit that we're wrong, or we can admit that we don't always know the best, it it lets down the fact, because we always take, I feel like the human race now is that the culture is we take everything to the extreme. It's not just, it's not, oh, I made a mistake. It's, I'm a failure. It's not just, oh,
Oh,
I,
good
I
point.
messed I messed up on this. Oh my gosh, I'm a wreck. Like we take everything to the extreme now, either the bad or the good. Because if we have one winning day, we're like, I'm on top of the world. And,
Mm-hmm.
and we live in that one day. And even though we're not there anymore, we still kind of try to live in that day. And so we can do it on both ends of the spectrum, I think. But I think it's because we live in an excessive world. We live in a
Mm-hmm.
world that is very excessive with the things that we have, the things that we can do. I can remember being a kid and going on vacation, and literally you might play putt putt and you might go to the beach. That's what you're going to do on your week's
Yeah.
long vacation. And you're going to go out to eat. You might go out to eat a couple times. Now, we got to have agendas and everything. We've got to do the viral things. We've got to do all the excessive things to make us look more grand and more better than we are. We can't just go on a simple vacation. It's got to be, it's just got, everything's got to be orchestrated so much more now. And I think it's because we always have to one up each other, and we always have to one up ourselves. Like it's like, oh, well, we did this last year on vacation. Well, we can't do that again. We got to go somewhere new. Like it's just kind of this. And I think that's a tool of the enemy, because he's created this environment of, there's no contentment. we
Mm-hmm.
we are no longer content as a society, period, end of story. And this is believers, non-believers, this is just society as a whole. We're no longer content, you know and we get so caught up in the next thing that we just can't even sit at the feet of Jesus, because we're so worried about, well, I'm going to miss something if I'm sitting at the feet of
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm going to miss something. Somebody's going to outdo me, or I'm not going to be ahead. I'm going to be behind because I sat at the feet of Jesus. No, sister, that ain't how it works.
Well,
But
and it's
but
excess.
huh?
It's about excess. There's so much.
Yeah.
And Hugh Sullins called me this morning. They had not seen me walking for 3 days, so they wanted to make sure I was okay, that's how sweet my neighbors are. But he had made a comment about how did he say it? Oh, there's a restaurant that they went to in Greenville, and they don't let you use your cell phones in the restaurant, and how mad people get. And which I think tragically that you have to say no cell phones in a restaurant was pretty incredible, that
Yeah.
somebody would have the gumption to do that. But that you're exactly right. That's what's happening. Nobody's having a relationship anymore. They're too busy. We went to the restaurant Friday, I think it was Friday night, maybe after the first session. And Chris and I walked to the restroom and through this area, and there was 4 people at the table, and all 4 of them were on their phone, and they had a spinach dip in the middle. And I thought, ain't nobody eating that spinach dip that looks delicious. But they
Yeah,
were all
I
on their
noticed that a lot
phone.
too. I notice that a lot in restaurants. I pay attention to people. Like, I'm just a
Mhm.
people watcher by
Me too.
default. I just like to watch people, because you can learn a lot about people by watching them.
Mhm.
And every time you go to a restaurant, there's at least one table where the husband and wife are on their phones. They're not talking. The kids are on their phones or tablets. And like, it's
Mhm.
just this, like, they're just sitting around a table, completely disengaged from each other. And like, I don't allow phones at my tables. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the table, like, I don't tell people what they can do if we're eating out with somebody. But, if it's my family, my kids know, we don't do phones at the table. It's just,
Yeah.
that's just the thing we have. And
Yeah.
I try to stick to it. Occasionally there have been times where somebody would call and you'd answer, but I just feel like it's so important, if you're spending time together over a meal,
Yeah.
that, think about like when Jesus was with his disciples, the disciples weren't like, they were literally reclined, which their tables were different. They like laid down at the table to eat,
Yeah.
and like reclined, and which I think that would be kind of hard to do. I don't know.
Oh, I'd choke to death.
I would
I
too.
choke.
Like I could not imagine trying to drink while I was laying down and like eat while I was laying down. But anyways, especially some bread. Good grief. But like I just sit and think, I'm like, they weren't laying there like doing other things. They weren't whittling on some stuff or, tying nets while they were at the table for their fishing.
Except at the Last Supper when they were fussing.
Well, that,
when they were
yes. But I mean, it's like they weren't doing other things not related to spending time together with Jesus and, supping with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but we do it and we don't even think anything about it because we're so afraid we're going to miss something. Or, I unplugged a little bit this weekend. I was trying to also still work, or this past week. It wasn't the weekend, it was the week, but I tried to still work and, be present in that area. But I also was conscious of the fact of just putting my phone down and watching TV, we all like sat around and watched TV, and we just all like, sat around a fire pit and talked. And so it was nice to have that time with my family while we were fishing to just talk and relax and eat and do all the things. And like watch my boys just enjoy fishing and sitting on the dock and not getting so caught up in, looking at their phone and all the things, and just listen to music and talk about their music choices and what music they like and songs they like. It's just, I just like a simpler thing. Like, and I'm not simple at all by any stretch of the imagination. I love extra stuff and being a little extra every once in a while, but the simple life is so nice. Just like, like just not having any care in the world and just enjoying sleeping in. And, I should have been born rich so I could just sleep in as long as I wanted to. And,
well, then you wouldn't be able to help other people with stuff too, though. You wouldn't want to do that. But ours was, we were worshiping with that many people, and there's always that extra oomph under it, so, and some people worship, emotions take over. We all know that emotions can always take over, and you have to keep yourself in check with that. And I certainly trust the Lord, and it's great having those emotions and that carefree worship. I wish I would worship, and I want to worship, and I used to at Lake Bowen, but I want to worship the way I worship there. I don't want to ever be stifled from my worship. And I always use the excuse, well, I don't want to be a distraction. That's the excuse. Listen, the Holy Spirit stirs my heart, and I'm supposed to do something about it. So that was that was a takeaway for me. And it was on Radiance.
Here's the thing. Your worship is not always for you. Your worship can be for somebody else.
True.
And I think a lot of people miss that, is like, because the Holy Spirit can use your worship to affect someone else and draw them to Christ. And and sometimes you have to be the one to spearhead worship when no one else is, and we're called to worship, but sometimes I think you were talking about, you don't want to be a distraction. I think if the Holy Spirit's in it, you're never a distraction. God saved our emotions too. So we have emotion, but I think if you are being led by the Holy Spirit, it's never a distraction, and you are quenching the Spirit when you don't do it.
I know that was the word that was coming out of my mouth next. Confessing, I have quenched the Spirit. And I know I have. But anyway, so it was a great time of worship, and so yesterday when Lisa Harper was finishing up, she was the last session, and many of people. She is very good. She called Charles Billingsley out, and he came and she was asking people, to come to the altar. But the way she did it, and nobody should go alone and everything else. And some people, you could see when people are coming out, a lot of people had emotion, but then you also people that just needed to lay some stuff at the foot of the cross. They just needed to lay it down. And I watched someone, and when I tell you she laid it down, she laid it down. There was no, there was no big commotion. There was no, and somehow she got up there by herself, because if I had known she had gone up there, I didn't see her. She was from our group, and I didn't see her, because if I had seen her gone up, I'd have never let her go up. I'd have gone up with her. But she laid it down at the foot of the cross. And when I tell you she laid it down, and I asked her when it all was said and done, I said, "Do you feel lighter?" And she said, "Yes, I do." Now, when we lay things down at the feet of Jesus, our struggles, our strife, our hurts, our heartaches, when people don't do as we think they should do to us, around us, for us, or whatever. But I asked her and she said, "Yes, I do feel lighter." There's a lot to be said for laying things at the foot of the cross. Now, will she pick it back up? Yeah, she will. And she knows she will. But she also will remember what it felt like to have that. Moses used that remember so much. He always wanted us to remember. Mm-hmm. I told her, I said, never forget what this moment feels like, where the weight is not on there. And so when it does come back and you need to lay it at his feet again, you'll remember the peace and the lack of weight on your shoulders. And it was eye-opening. It was her. It wasn't me, but it was her doing that absolutely showed me what it's like to have that peace too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was very, it was, because, like I said, there's a lot of emotion involved. And listen, when you lay stuff at the foot of the cross, you cry a lot. It's heavy stuff. But for me, I'm going to remember these things. I'm going to remember what it's like to wake up and not have the weight of the world on my shoulders. Yeah. Now, will the weight come in about an hour? Could. But I am going to remember those times and know full well that God has that peace for me, and he has got that release and relief for me. I just can't get bound up with the world that's around me, whether it's the cell phones or whether it's, I want, like you and I, before we got on here, we hadn't talked this week. We've never done that since last September or last June, really. We've never gone a week and not talked. Well,
you missed
life is
me.
life. I get that. I did. As I told you,
I miss you too. I know,
but I think it's so important. Well, we miss out when we don't have conversation. We miss out.
Sure.
And sometimes life does get heavy.
And this is a world that doesn't have conversations anymore. We jump to conclusions, or we get upset, or we don't, because I'm not a talker, like in that sense. Like if I have an issue in my life or I have something bothering me, I have a hard time like saying it. I would just rather keep it in and, just bottle it up. And eventually it explodes out, because it has to, eventually it may not always explode in the best way. And so I have to remember, and I'm learning this, I'm still not good at it, but to communicate and to talk, because that's not my nature. My nature is to suppress and keep everything down and figure it all out. That's kind of, and maybe that's just the way I was raised, and it's, or, it could be from some trauma that's happened in my life, because we all have these traumas in our life that affect who we are today. You've had trauma in your life that makes you who you are and makes you see things the way that you see. And I try to remember that, probably I probably need to be in some good therapy, but I'm not. But anyway, but at the same time, like I have to remind myself that I do need to communicate, that I need to talk to the Lord first, but I also have to be willing to talk to other people and not keep things bottled up, because then when you keep things bottled up, a lot of times then you it ends up manifesting in other areas of your life. I hate to use that word manifest because it sounds woo-woo.
Well, it festers. If you think about it,
it does. Yes, for sure.
And I think that was
crazy rabbit holes of, stuff. And then you end up being in worse shape than you were to begin with if you just talked about it.
Well, and I'm so grateful to God. Listen, my fingernails just popped off and I am trying so hard not to dig at it. I'm such, it's driving me. I'm that person that I'm going to sit on my hands, literally sitting on my hands so I won't touch it.
Isn't that the worst though, when you have your nails done and you got one missing and it's like, I'm done. My life is ruined. I'm
Tomorrow
done.
morning.
Because,
I'm going tomorrow
yeah.
morning to get them fixed. Anyway, a squirrel moment. That was such a great conversation and I just blew it.
No, you didn't
Anyway,
blow it. It's fine.
anyway, but I do like the discernment too is when you are friends with people or you're in a relationship with people or whatever else, you know something's not right. You just
Yeah.
know something's not right. You're quiet or you're not or you don't. And I think it's just as much our responsibility when God gives us that discernment to, hey, speak up. Something's not
So
right.
true.
And you've got to help
Yeah.
them. Yeah. And you've
Yeah.
got to
So
help
true
be
because
that.
I think we just overlook we overlook like I pay attention to body language or like you said, and I think we overlook sometimes when people quit talking to us or when people like get quiet or they don't act themselves. We just kind
Mhm.
of go, oh, well, they got something going on, and we brush it off because we got our own problems, we got our own things going on, and so we get caught up in our own lives and we forget to stop and go, wait a minute, like I might need to talk to Blair because I haven't talked to her and I need to make sure she's okay, or I need to talk to so and so because I usually talk to them at least once a week and I have
Mhm.
not talked to them at all.
Right.
Are they okay? Is something going They could just be busy, whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's very important that we make time for other people. And I think, I say that all the time that I try to be a good friend. I'm not always a good friend because I get in my own little world. But to be a friend, you have to, or to have
And have
friends, you have
them
to be a friend.
be
You
one.
really do. And I think we've lost the ability to be friends sometimes with
Well,
people because
Crystal, when we were gone, Crystal and I stayed together, and I really am blessed to have her. I mean, she could be sick of me, and we've spent a lot of time together this past week, but we still had a great time. So obviously, she's not sick of me, so that's a plus. But I got quiet and she said, and I didn't really realize it, but she said, "Hey, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, why?" She said, "You're awfully quiet," and I kind of thought, and I could have been tired, whatever else, but the point is, she was watching.
yeah,
She was watching and she cared. And I think even just to recognize that somebody cares, even if nothing's wrong, maybe I was just quiet, I don't know, for whatever reason. But the point is, when we notice that, I appreciated that. I appreciate that she's just checking in and checking on me to make sure I'm okay. So I think and that's what relationship, like you said, that's what relationships are about.
yeah,
That's what we have to do. Listen, Caitlin and Melissa and Crystal were good to me this week. They included me in everything we did. Listen, they had a lazy. This will be my thing. They had a lazy river, and it was really hot in the mountains. I didn't bring a bathing suit because I didn't think I didn't need a bathing suit, and so of course I don't do pickup stuff. Do you know what I mean? I just go to the store and buy it and whatever. Well,
yeah.
Caitlin said we're leaving to go to the event, and Caitlin said, "Well, we'll just order it from Walmart and have them deliver it to the hotel." I said, "What?" We bought bathing suits. We bought bathing suits. So we got two bathing suits, a pair of shorts, and some razors, and picked them
Listen,
up at Walmart. I mean, but these kids,
I'm,
they're so precious. We
yeah,
grub hugged. I've never grub hugged, but
yeah,
I mean, but these girls were so good with me, and we went on the lazy river and just, I mean, I would not have had that if I had just been a fuddy duddy and stayed home, you know?
yeah.
And tragically, that's what a lot of us do. Well, it's just younger ones going. They won't. And of course, we had older ones too. But, you got to put yourself out there. You got to put yourself out there.
And
So,
I think that's I feel like that's the problem that a lot of people have is they're not confident enough in themselves to put themselves out there because they're afraid they're going to be rejected. Well,
yeah,
yeah, you probably will in some places,
yeah,
but those aren't your people,
yeah.
and I've learned that a lot of times this is what I've learned a lot in ministry, and I've also learned it a lot just in personal life. A lot of people that at the beginning, like I can remember being in ministry and being at a church, and the people that loved on you in the very beginning, they just loved you so much. They just could eat you up. At the end of that ministry, a lot of those were ones that could care whether you stayed or go. But then the ones that kind of had little reservation about you, some of those, and they were hesitant to get to know you. Some of those were the ones that ended up, being your biggest supporters and being the ones that loved you the most. And I've known that, and a lot of times I found that sometimes people that eat you up a lot of times to your face and they love on you so much, and then, give it about 6 months, they don't even talk to you anymore. And you're like, what have I done to you? I've not done anything to you. And I see that a lot. Like, I see a lot of people that, you first meet them and maybe they just don't like me, but.
Well, newness it depends on the situation. I would think sometimes newness wears off too.
I think, yeah, maybe so. But it's like you see these people on a regular basis and they used to talk to you all the time. And then now they don't talk to you at all, whether it's at church or wherever. And you go, I've never done anything to you. I've always been good to you. But now you don't talk to me anymore, and it's like, well, maybe they found out maybe our personalities don't match or whatever, whatever it may be. But I think that's kind of sometimes can be hard. And it can be a little frustrating as, especially as somebody that, and you too, we're both very transparent and we put things out there. Literally, I'm at church yesterday and people are coming up to me about my pink front door because I painted my front door pink.
Uh-huh.
It looks so good.
I don't think I've seen it. I need to look. I don't think I've seen it.
You need to go look at it.
Did you post it on Facebook?
Yeah.
Did you post it on Facebook?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw. I don't know if I did or not. I'll look and see.
Oh my gosh. Well, you would remember it because it's bright. But
like
I did like a little thing where like some people on my business page voted, and honestly, pink was not my original. Like, I did not want to paint my door pink. I wanted to paint it like a sagey, like olive green. Yeah. Well, that color was second place. So I was like, well, I'm just going to paint my front door pink for summer and spring. And then in the fall, I can paint it the green color. So, needless to say, I have a bright pink door on my house right now.
What the boys say? The boys like it? The boys like it?
Well, no, Tucker said it was, he said it was awful. I said, what you think about it? He said, it's awful. Okay. Kevin doesn't care either way. He could care less, but he's like, you're going to have 50 million coats of paint on there, and it's like, the door ain't going to close right because you got so much paint on it. It'll be fine, but whatever. So, anywho, it was fun. And, I'm like, paint. So I don't even know where I was going with that. That was a little squirrel. But anyways, so I got a pink front door.
Well, good for you. Yeah, I'll have to look. I might have missed it on Facebook.
How dare you not keep up with my life, Blair? How dare you?
Truthfully, out of town, I was going to write all these things. I have all these things to write about this weekend and all the things I learned and all these things. And I've written none of it because I had to go do some stuff at church this morning and I need to clean house today. But I guess as we close out, the joy I really did. I even posted the picture, which is Jenny Noble was so sweet. Terry Noble, Terry is the one that took the picture that I posted on our page. And I'm not good at posting pictures myself. And this one is not a great picture because the way I was standing, but I do love, it says joy looks good on you or whatever it said. I posted that picture because you know what? It doesn't matter. It's the inside. I felt good that day. Not about my outfit's cute. Cause if you look at it, that cute little shirt, Missy May made that for me, that quilted church on my shirt. But I think the point of it is when I can look in the mirror and know that there's joy there. Yeah, I do. And I do. I have the joy of the Lord and he is my strength. So I guess that would be my thing is wherever you are, whatever circumstances you're in, you continue in your boldness for the Lord. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 108 or 8. You can still have that joy and you need to share it with other people. I don't want to keep him to myself anymore. Not that I do, but I want to, I'm not going to be quiet about him.
No, we're not. That's why we do this podcast.
Exactly. Good answer.
But I think my takeaway from the last, the word focus had actually been on my heart because I had heard a quote while I was out of town on my business retreat. It said, diluted focus gets diluted results. So when he said focus, because I've been doing a lot of focusing in my business and honing in on some things and focusing on what I want, where I feel like God's want me to be. And I feel like then when he said that focus and I was like, wait a minute, like my first focus is Jesus. My
Mhm.
second focus can be whatever else I want it to be. But when I focus on Jesus first, then everything else falls into place.
Mhm.
We
Yep.
forget that. So I'm trying to. I hope that folks can take away from that our randomness, that just focus on the Lord.
Mhm.
Let everything else work itself out. That sounds like you're just being flighty and you're just like, well, whatever. But I feel like it's so important for us just to keep our focus, especially because I believe we're living in the last days. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
just truly believe that. And our focus needs to be on, number one, making sure that our porch is clean, and that we're, but also that we're showing others
Mhm.
Jesus and pointing them to Jesus. Um, and our life has to match up the words that we're telling
Right.
them. So
Well, I want clean lips and a clean heart. I
yeah,
do.
for
I
sure.
want clean lips and a clean heart. I don't want to say anything that doesn't bring him honor and glory. And I promise you, when we hang up here, I will stub a toe again or something else and a bad thought or whatever, because that's what happens. We get tested on the things that we talk about. Every time that we have these conversations, every Monday, I'm always tested afterwards. I just am, because okay, you said this, can you do that?
Yeah,
And
so
that's
true.
it's, I mean, we get tested on it. But I I I don't want I would love to save everybody from going through these tests and trials and all that kind of stuff. I would love to protect people from it. But you know what? When you do, you keep your eyes on the Lord, when you stay focused on Him, all the surrounding stuff does fall into place. The key is, are we willing to wait it out and wait for it to
Yeah,
happen? That's the problem. It's the timing issue. Yeah, it's the
for
timing issue
sure.
for me. But anyway,
Well,
girly,
I'm glad
that's
I got
all
to
I
hang
got.
out with you.
Do you want? Me too. Me too. I'm glad to see you. Yeah,
I
I'm glad to
know.
see you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm going
So
to clean
well,
house.
yeah, I'm gonna go do some work. So I hope everybody has a good afternoon, evening, day, where whenever.
Whenever
And
you
we
listen.
love you
Yeah.
big.
Okay. And praying Jesus is your joy.
Bye.
Bye.